Hello everyone, and a good morning to you. Saturday morning the 31st of March, we entered Kasanka National Park. But after speaking to Kim, the lady in charge, we established that this was not the right time for game viewing, although it was the perfect time for spotting the rare shoebill at Shoebill Island. So we decided to change our plans and leave and head on to Mutinondo on the way to Shoebill Island. On Sunday morning, we spent a wonderful day at Mutinondo. There were huge granite whaleback rocks and a very clear river with 3 waterfalls running through the center of the reserve. We did an 8-kilometer hike along the river, stopping to swim under the waterfalls, my best thing, and then back around these whalebacks to our camp. We used the backpack that Daryl gave Dave for Christmas, and the juice was really welcome. It was a little backpack that had a straw with juice. It worked really well, and it kept the juice cool for a few hours. After the hike, we had a scrumptious breakfast of bacon, eggs, and fried tomato with toast. The rest of the day, we relaxed after doing laundry and played some bridge. The weather at Mutinondo was a lot cooler, and the crochet blanket that my mum had made me came in very handy. We did discover some bad news, and this was that the Zambian border officials had only given 4 of us, not all of us, just 4 of us, had only been given 7 days in our passport. And Mike, the owner of the lodge, said this would be a big problem, as we were essentially now in Zambia illegally. He wrote us a letter from the immigration lady at Mpika so that the dates in our passports could be sorted out. On Monday morning, we left Mutinondo bright and early after saying goodbye to Mike and Larry, the owners of the lodge. They have a really laid-back life and only manage to keep track of the days by instructing their staff to give them baked beans every Sunday night so that they will know that the next day is Monday. If the staff forget and don't give them baked beans on a Sunday night, they say that everyone is totally confused as to what day of the week it is. So we proceeded along Chiandapunda Road, which was 69 kilometers long, but took us 2.5 hours. There were many delays, with vehicles getting stuck in the mud and rickety log bridges that we had to negotiate. At 4 o'clock, we were finally on the Shoebill Island Road. This, once again, was an atrocious road, with bridges completely washed away, and the going was very slow. We passed through lots of villages, and all the kids came out to greet us. So there was a lot of smiling and waving. The light by late Sunday afternoon was fading, but we wanted to push on as we wanted to get to the scout camp. We only had 3 kilometers to go when the road, which was an elevated high road through a boggy plain, completely disintegrated. So that was the end of our travels for the day. And we just camped all in a row on this elevated road in the middle of the bog. There was a world of stars above our heads and the sounds of lechwa, jackals and hyena all around us. It was really magical. On Tuesday morning, we woke up to the most wonderful sight. We were in the middle of this huge plain full of lechwa antelope and hordes of birds. The moon was still visible in the west, and the sun was rising in the east. It was breathtaking sight to behold. definitely the best campsite ever. We packed up our rooftop tents and were ready to go, as we could see the scout camp just ahead of us, 3 kilometers on, except there was no road to go on. Just then, as we were all wondering what to do, a vehicle came towards us through the bog, not on any road, and there was a man on the top of the vehicle hanging on for his dear life on the roof rack. The vehicle was forging through the bog with a fountain of muddy water spraying up either side. He veered off to stop and talk to us, and in doing so he did a complete 360 with his lookout man on the top hanging onto the roof racks with all his might. We all looked on with big eyes, but the driver assured us that this was the way to get to the scout camp. We must just hit out off the road into the bog and go for it. So it was the only option we had, so off we set one by one. It was a very exciting trip. The windscreen wipers were going full ball the whole time to keep the windscreen clear, and the engine was roaring to keep Garfield swimming through the bog. But guess what? We all made it. Of course, Dave then had to spend half an hour clearing all the grass out from around the wheels, the prop shaft, etc. The grass was just hanging from the vehicle. Once he had finished cleaning Garfield, we parked our vehicles and locked them as the guides were waiting at the scout camp to pole us in banana boats, Makoro style, to Shoebill Island camp. We had to wade out to the banana boats, which were waiting in slightly deeper waters in the Bangweulu swamp. This swamp is actually more beautiful than the Okavonga swamp, as it is less commercialized. It is more open, and it is just a mass of water lilies of all colors: lilac, white, yellow, and pink, plus a myriad of other flowers that I don't know the names of. To top this, there was an abundance of birds, which we had great fun identifying. The boat ride took about 3/4 of an hour, and then we reached our tented camp. Each tent was a private little unit with its own toilet and shower. There was staff to cook our dinner for us and to do any laundry that we needed doing. So all in all, we had to just relax. On Wednesday, we woke up early in the morning at 5:30 a.m. to go out in the banana boats to look for birds, and in particular the shoebill, which is a rare bird only found in swamp areas from northern Zambia up to the south of Sudan. We had a wonderful 5-hour-long trip through the swamp, spotting hundreds of birds, but unfortunately we had no luck with the elusive shoebill. We got back to camp at 11 a.m. and had a quick bite to eat before being poled back to the scout camp and our waiting vehicles. We were really glad to see Garfield in one piece, as we had missed our home. By lunchtime, we set back off over the bog highway and back onto the tracks leading back to the tar road. We travelled until it got dark, and then we just set up a bush camp. We were getting quite used to these bush camps now. On Thursday, we woke up and headed off for Mpika to shop, to go to the immigration office, the internet cafe, and to get petrol, etc. As soon as we got to Mpika, after we had a puncture, we went to the immigration office, as this was our most pressing issue. We needed to sort out our passports. We, as I said before, had only been given 7 days in Zambia, while all the others had been given 30 days. There were 4 of us who were only given 7 days, and so the 4 of us were illegal immigrants at this stage. Mark from Mutinondo had written a letter on our behalf to the immigration office in Mpika, explaining that we had never been asked how many days were required. Apparently, this is a common problem at the border posts, with people only being given 7 days. Well, what an ordeal. Basically, they insisted that we each had to pay fines of around 3,500 rand. We just said we did not have that amount of money, or any money for fines. And after much talking and even mustering up some tears, they finally agreed to amend our passports. This all took 2 hours. So 2 hours later, we could start fixing our puncture, going to the bank, the internet cafe, grocery shopping, etc. And we only finally left Mpika at around 4 o'clock and headed north towards Shiwa, Ngandu, and Kapishia Hot Springs. These 2 places are on the same estate, but we were going to camp at Kapishia, where we arrived at about 5:30 and set up camp. After dinner, we all went and lolled in the totally unspoiled hot spring. It was a real treat at the end of a harrowing day sorting out immigration. After breakfast and Dave doing the routine maintenance on Garfield, we set off 20 kilometers back to visit Shiwa House, which overlooks Shiwa and Ngandu Lake. The name Shiwa means lake, and Ngandu means royal crocodiles. A man called Stuart Gore Brown had built Shiwa House in 1924 with the financial assistance of his Aunt Ethel in England. And the house he built was a model of a country house in England called Brooklands. All the crockery, books, etc. from England were transported 70 miles on foot on the people's shoulders from Ndola to Luapula River, and then on a 10-day canoe trip through the Bangweulu swamps, and then another 70-mile hike on foot. To see this house with all its furnishings and everything that is now administered by David's grandson is quite a sight. By 1925, Gore Brown was employing 1,800 local people, and he had workshops, a school, and a hospital, as well as this magnificent manor house. After our tour of Shiwa House, we went back to the Kapishia Hot Spring and had a swim in the cool river running through the campsite before going for a relaxing soak in the hot spring. After lunch, there was a massive downpour of rain, and we decided that the best place to be would be back in the hot spring. So we spent the best part of the afternoon submerged in the warm water with an umbrella over our heads to protect us from the icy raindrops. On Saturday morning, we woke up early and went for our final soak in the hot spring before heading north towards Kasama, which we reached at 12 o'clock. And as it had a ShopRite, we did a bit of good shopping. We left at 1 p.m. on a very potholed road towards Mpulungu, and by 4:30 p.m. we had found Ngupi Lodge, where we all set up and went for a swim in Lake Tanganyika, which was just over the road. The campsite was quite pleasant, but the location was not great, so we all decided to just spend one night and to move on around Lake Malawi the next morning. We did meet a couple that evening, and they were very interesting. They were from Tanzania, and they ran a hotel at the base of Kilimanjaro. The lady gave us a lot of information and invited us to camp in her hotel grounds when we got to the base of Kilimanjaro. So that was a wonderful friendship to make. If you found this video interesting, we would so appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to continue getting videos like that, press the subscribe button. David, come here. Oh. There we go. Bye-bye, and we'll see you next time.